What's up? What's up?
Hello.
Good evening. Why is the camera like that? Why am I not focused? That's weird. Camera's doing weird things today. Uh anyway, what's up? What's up, family?
Good
Listen, I
evening.
love the song in that countdown, but maybe I won't do a countdown because I saw a bunch of people jump in and then I saw a bunch of people jump out. So I was like, well, maybe the countdown's too long. Anyway, good evening. It is Saturday night. We weren't with you last week because last week we were celebrating this woman to my right.
Is the camera too close?
No, I don't know what's going on. I don't know what the deal is tonight with that camera.
Okay.
We were celebrating the woman to my right. It was her birthday. And so that's why we weren't here last week, but we're back. And if you're new to this, this is Have a Conversation After Dark. We're going to get this stuff out of the way. So if you missed this, you're going to have to go back and watch the replay to hear this disclaimer. But here's the thing about Have a Conversation After Dark. Have a Conversation After Dark is not about us giving out relationship and marriage advice.
Correct.
Now, if you get some tips out of this, then
You might here and there.
right, that's phenomenal. But that's not what this is about. This is about encouraging conversation.
Yeah.
It's about encouraging conversation.
With your spouse. What?
Nothing. I'm still trying to figure out this camera. It's about encouraging conversation with your spouse. There are some conversations that I believe either we have not had or we don't have enough. There's some things that are taboo. There's some things that are avoided for whatever reason.
Yeah.
And we believe that those conversations should not be avoided, whether it be between husband and wife, whether it be between church and constituents, whether it be between parents and kids, whatever it is. There are some conversations that should be taking place. and we believe that you should be having a conversation.
Sorry.
So you want this?
Yes.
So that's the whole goal of this, is to have a conversation, right? So tonight there are a few. There might be a couple of things that we talk about, but we want to jump into the first thing. We got some family in the house. What's up, family?
Hi, sister.
What's going on? What's going on? So here's the thing. And if you saw the description, then you know what we're going to talk about. Those of you who are watching, I ask that you share this so we can get some folk. I'd love to have some folks in this conversation, because I don't want it to just be us having a conversation. Although we can do that, because we started the conversation before we got down here.
Yeah, we did. We did.
So here's the topic. The topic we're going to start off with is masturbation. Yay or nay? And why? If yay, why?
Yeah.
If nay, why? That's the conversation. And we're going to talk about it, but we would love to hear what our people have to say about it.
Mm-hmm.
And if we can get some folks in here, that'd be great. But here's the thing. I'll start it off. Actually, you know what? Let me put it up here. So maybe when people get on the screen, maybe that'll keep them. Maybe that'll keep them here if I just put it at the bottom of the screen. Let's see. How do you spell it?
What?
How do you spell masturbation?
Masturbate.
Turbiation.
Yeah. So, yay or nay to answer your question. So there's not a lot of dead space. What is all? Oh,
what is it?
That's other stuff. Why does that stuff have to be there?
It doesn't have to be there. I can.
Anyway.
What do you think? Yay or nay?
I'm on the fence, because I know that it doesn't specifically address it, or at least not to my understanding or knowledge. I know that it's not specifically addressed biblically, like in the Bible. But I think it's just a very slippery slope. I think it's very dangerous. It can be. I shouldn't say I think that it is. I think that it can be dangerous, and I don't have an answer.
Go ahead, keep going.
I don't have an answer either way, because, like I said to you upstairs, there are people like myself in this stage of life. It has become difficult at times to become as aroused as easily as I used to be. And I know that in those instances, women need the additional stimulation, or the additional, what's it called? The additional stimulation.
Yeah.
And so for that reason, they may buy, like a little vibrator or stuff like that, to assist with the stimulation and to help them to become aroused. And then, it's easier for you and your partner, or you and your spouse, I should say. Okay. So in those instances, I get it and I understand it, and I'm not necessarily opposed to it. But also, I think, on the other hand, it can become very dangerous. Like if I'm doing it out of self-gratification because I have no self-control type thing, and I just want to feel what I feel, and it doesn't have anything to do with like my spouse, but I just want to feel what I feel.
What do you mean when you say no self-control? What do you mean by that?
Like instant gratification. I want instant gratification, and I can't. When I say self-control, I mean like not trying to wait for you to come and do whatever you need to do, or maybe you're not here and I don't want to wait, or something like that.
Yeah, but is that wrong though? If I'm not here and you're like, well, he's not here, so
I don't know.
I'm horny right now, so let me do what I need to do.
Yeah. I'm reading the comment. I kind of feel like it might be wrong. Like that's what, because it says in the Bible that we are to have self-control.
Yeah, but is that a lack of self-control? I don't know that that's a lack of self control. My daughter just recently had the same conversation with granddaughter, just turned 17. Conversation needs to be had. Absolutely. Did not
Yeah,
have this with my children. We didn't have this conversation
we
either.
didn't either.
And the reason why this whole Saturday night thing exists is for that very reason, is
Yeah,
because I can tell you without a doubt, I have never had this conversation with anyone.
right. And I know that sis, our parents, our mom was not even talking about sex period, much
Yeah.
less masturbation. So,
I have never had this conversation with anyone. I have never heard it addressed at any church
right.
my entire life.
I have, but no, I haven't. I've heard people pray at church and say, God, people, get rid of this sin of masturbation. But
Yeah,
that's as
that's
far as it
yeah.
went. That's not really a
Yeah, that's
conversation.
not a conversation. I've never heard
Yeah,
a conversation on masturbation.
me either.
Ever.
Yeah,
Ever.
yeah.
Matter of fact, I'm about to text some folk because I need some people to get in on this conversation. But here's my thing. I don't believe.
That's what I'm saying. Do you see? That's exactly what I'm saying. My
Okay.
sister said,
Let me see.
with self gratification, one has to use the mind and imagination. Dangerous territory. Agreed. 100% agreed. So I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. Just
Um,
I agree, and that's what I was saying. This is what I'm this is the other side of the coin for me. Because
okay.
on the one side of the coin, I'm thinking it's helpful as
Yeah.
far as stimulation because it's sometimes needed.
Right. So, and I agree with you. And I think this is what we were talking about before we came downstairs. I agree with that
Yeah.
because here's the thing, and this is why the conversation needs to be had. Because here's the thing, my view, if you want to ask my opinion is that there's nothing wrong with it.
Mm.
Here's the slippery slope. The slippery slope is what you use as your stimulation. For me, I'm speaking strictly for me. What you use as your stimulation. What do I mean by that? So I don't agree with the self-control thing, because if I'm not here, let's say I'm gone for the entire day, and at some point you're like, man, I'm feeling horny now. My husband's not going to be back for the next 12 hours. I'm just going to do what I do. Now, I don't think that's a lack of self-control. Now, using me
Mm-hmm.
as the stimulant
Mm-hmm.
or the point of reference
Yeah.
is okay.
Mm.
Using dude up the block
Mm-hmm.
as your stimulant is not okay, because that falls into the category of lust. Would you agree?
Agreed.
And since we're not supposed to lust, that's where the slippery slope comes in. And I think that's the thing that is tough to explain, like Marlene said, explaining to her granddaughter, because her granddaughter doesn't have a marital point of reference.
Right. Right.
So if her granddaughter gets horny,
Yeah.
because let's be clear, 17-year-olds do that.
That's a whole nother
That's a whole nother
that's a whole
conversation.
nother
But let's just be
conversation
clear, that
because
happens.
it does, but when I say it's a whole another conversation, it's not a wrong. People think that, man, your body does what it does. It's a natural thing. You're
It does what it
supposed to
does.
feel those feelings.
And I think
So, but that's a whole nother
that's a whole nother conversation. And I think the reason why, this is just again me talking, it's after dark. I'm just giving my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
The reason why I believe the church shies away from that conversation is because they can't tell the 17-year-old how to avoid a negative or lustful point of reference.
Yeah.
So then I'm not gonna touch it.
Yeah. Just don't do it. Period. Just
Right.
it's
I'm
wrong.
not gonna touch
It's
it.
just sinful. Period. Yeah.
Right. So
Ooh,
I say nay. Helpful to explain to the young ones why. It's a hard conversation. It is.
Yeah.
It is a hard conversation, but it's a conversation that we have to have.
Yes.
What's up, Judith? Thank you for joining in
Hi,
on this
Judith.
conversation. For those of you who are joining in on the conversation, you see what the topic is
Mm-hmm.
at the bottom. It is a conversation, like I said before, that now listen, I'm not saying the conversation hasn't been had, because there are probably some very progressive congregations here and there, and that kind of thing. I have never
We
been
haven't.
in a church. We have never been in a church environment
Yeah.
where this has been a conversation.
Correct.
We have never been in any marriage ministry group meeting where this has been a conversation. We have never been to any marriage seminar where this is a conversation. Nobody's talking about it.
So, turn the fan on. So you didn't plug it in, babes. So
Oh, I
here's
did.
the
Hold
thing.
on. Go ahead. Keep going.
I think that there are because there seems to be two sides to this coin, right? Of whether it's right or wrong. Contradicting myself as I speak. Because there's two sides to the coin, I think that those are those are the types of that's the way that the conversation should go. Like, when you're married and when you're in a situation like, like myself, like I said, perimenopause, difficult to become aroused as easily, need the extra help, then in that instance, it could possibly be okay. And here's another thing too, babe. I'll wait till you sit back down. Um, is it?
Hold on 1 second.
I just don't know. And you're throwing me off with whatever it is you're doing back there. So yeah, I don't know. So here's another comment here. Let's see if I can put it up. The challenge is that society promotes self-gratification, that's what I said, and satisfaction when it comes to sex. Telling our Christian youth not to remains a conflict. Yeah. Telling our Christian youth not to remains a conflict. Yeah, agreed. So my question was, thank you for doing that.
Mhm.
My question was gonna be, like, for someone who is in a situation where they need the extra stimulation, right?
Mhm.
And so they get a little vibrator and they're I think it's okay in that instance when you're with your spouse. And is it also considered masturbation if I say, here, take this and use it on me, do it for me?
I think there's a term for that. It's mutual. Is it mutual masturbation? I think there's a term for that.
I have no idea.
I got to look that up, but I think there's a term for that. And no, I don't think that's wrong.
Well, you don't think it's wrong, period.
But here's the
So,
thing: if the scenario you just described,
mhm,
your point of reference
is you.
is me.
Right. And that's what I'm saying. Those may be the types of conversations that need to be had when discussing it with 17-year-olds.
I agree with that, because here's the thing with us, right? We even say, matter of fact, we're in a upcoming sex seminar that's going to be aired, I think, in June, where we're talking about having toys
Yeah.
as an option for married folks. So
Mhm.
that is my thing. My thing is, and where the conversation gets tough is, what do you tell the 17-year-old?
Yeah.
So listen, I will be the first to admit that would be a interesting conversation for me to have,
Yeah.
even for me who believes that there's nothing wrong with it.
Mhm.
Because now, and this is where I'm going, why I'm saying this. Here's what, if you go to some sex therapists and some sex seminars, you will hear people talk about this. Can we talk to the 17-year-old about body exploration? So
Can we or should we?
can either one,
I
because
think that we should.
right. So here's where I'm going with that. We don't want the 17-year-old to have their boyfriend or girlfriend as a point of reference.
Mhm.
We don't want to have them be lustful in any way. And let's be clear before I keep going. I don't although I don't think that there's anything wrong with masturbation, and this kind of maybe speaks to what you were saying with self control, is that I don't think that it is something that warrants being habitual.
Right.
So it's not like you eat 3 times a day. I'm gonna masturbate 3 times a day.
Yeah.
I don't know that there's, and people can make an argument for that, whatever. But going back to what I was saying, point of reference, we talk about body exploration, right? Knowing um, the erogenous zones, understanding sensory, and like rubbing your arms and neck, and even you do this where you're just sometimes sitting and you're just doing this,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because
Mm-hmm.
you like how that feels.
Mm-hmm.
That don't have nothing to do with the guy up the block.
Right.
When you're doing what now? Hold on. This could get real, folks. Buckle up for the question I'm about to ask.
No, it's not.
This might be a clip right here. So, what are you thinking about when you do that?
I definitely nothing sexual. It's just that I zone out. It's just it's kind of like a person who sucks their thumb. It's a
Okay.
comfort thing.
Mhm.
It's a comfort thing. Like sucking your thumb,
Okay.
or a kid that's tired and plays with
Plays
rubs
the
your
ear.
ear.
Mhm.
It's that type of thing. It's
Okay.
nothing sexual.
Yeah, it's almost went left, folks.
Woo!
But I believe that we can talk to the teenager about
Yeah.
that,
Mm-hmm.
because that's not
Yes.
lustful.
Mm.
That's a person, because here's the thing, what are you going to tell them when they have this feeling that they can't describe?
Which is a very natural feeling. And I think that the thing is, because we don't have the conversations with them, or when we do, it's not even a conversation. It's just to point your finger and say, don't do it, it's wrong, don't do it, it's wrong, don't do it, it's wrong. And
Listen.
then, of course, curious kids are going to be like, well, why is it wrong? Let me see about this. And you know, they're going to just be rebellious, and
Right.
then down the
And
road
then
it goes.
down,
And
right.
and you've never talked to them about lust, and you've never
Mhm.
talked to them. You've just said, don't do it, it's
Mhm.
wrong, don't do that, you shouldn't
Right.
be doing that, you shouldn't be trying to figure that out, you should don't do it, it's wrong. But you're
Mhm.
not telling me why, you're not telling me about lust. Of course I'm going to do it.
Yeah. Lenore said hilarious talking about that. Marlene said she's done that since childhood.
Mm,
Yeah. So,
yeah.
talking about you
Oh,
rubbing your shoulder.
oh,
You've done that
yes,
since
I
done that
have.
since
I
childhood.
have. I definitely have.
S-
Just
Yeah.
it's
So
just a
so so
comfort
that's my
thing.
thing for, and that's a whole nother conversation, talking to the person who is not married.
Yeah, right. It's a
Right.
whole nother
So whether
topic.
it be teenager or single person or whoever, that's a whole nother discussion. However, I believe that we can talk about body exploration, because
Absolutely, we should.
right, because that person, just, if you're married and you get horny, so does the person who ain't married. So we got to talk to them about what happens
Yeah.
when that takes place, right? So my question, I'm saying all of that to lead up to this. In body exploration, for folk who don't believe that masturbation is right,
Mm-hmm.
me exploring what ice feels like,
Mm-hmm.
what chocolate feels like, what, that doesn't have anything to do with any other outside point of reference. That's all has to do with me. I'm my own point of reference at this point.
But here's the thing.
So
Go ahead. Sorry, I
so
don't
so
want
if I take ice, right?
to.
Because we're adults here, right? We're all adults. So I can it's an after dark show. So if your nipples are sensitive, you take ice and you rub that area to see what it's like. You are your own point of reference. So that's not lust.
I have some. Yeah,
What you thinking? Tell me what you thinking.
our nipples are sensitive. It's not. if your nipples are sensitive.
Okay, I see what you're
Your
saying. I
nipples
see what
are
you're saying.
sensitive. Anything cold, anything touching them, they're going to react. It's nothing sexual.
No, you can't say that.
What?
It is sexual for some people. It might not be sexual for you.
Well, agreed. I agree. But our nipples are just made that way. There's a gazillion nerve endings there. And so
Right.
that's going to happen. Whether you're aroused by
Mm-hmm.
it or not, it's a sensitive area. So and the other thing,
Mm-hmm.
hold your thought. The
Mm-hmm.
other thing that I'm thinking is, do we have to, should we, or do we have to explore our bodies to that extent? Or can we wait and say, with your partner, with your spouse, here, babe, let's try this on me. Let's see if I like it. Try
Mm-hmm.
that on me. Let's see if I like it. You know what I'm saying?
Do we have to? No.
Mm-hmm.
I no, we don't have to.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But I don't think it's wrong to.
Okay.
No, you
Okay.
don't have to. Because listen, the other side of that argument, right, is that there are people who are like, listen, I have asked God to give me the level of self-control that will keep me from wanting to do any of this exploration of any kind or whatever you want to call it until I get married.
I love this comment that Lenore said. Wait, before we go any further.
Mm-hmm.
Happy
Happy anniversary.
anniversary
That's what's up.
to my
Happy
sister
anniversary.
Lenore and
What you
my
doing on
brother
here right
Mike.
now?
Thank you. What are you doing on
I just
here?
realized that.
It is your anniversary. We're glad you're here, but you don't need to be here. It's your anniversary. But the comment says, for me,
Mhm.
it's about expectation and training. Let's say you can get yourself there in 3 minutes. You've trained your body and created an
Oh,
expectation from your
Lenore took the
partner.
conversation and made a left turn.
That is
You made a left
true.
turn with that. Okay.
That's
Okay.
so true.
Okay.
Wow, that's true. Yeah,
I can get behind that,
yeah, yeah.
but doesn't make it wrong.
Yeah, because then what if, you expect the 3 minutes or to be able to get there in 3 minutes from your partner, but what if he can't get you there in 3 minutes? Then what? Now you're disappointed and frustrated at your spouse because your spouse couldn't do what you can do for yourself.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. See, y'all are adding caveats to this now.
I
Okay.
mean,
So, and that's good. That's good because that's what should happen in these conversations.
yeah.
Here's the thing. Should we teach then? Should we teach people how to masturbate?
No, I
Why
don't.
not? We teach people how to have sex.
Some people don't teach people how to have sex.
You're right.
It
You're
just
right.
happens.
You're right. But I'm
And
saying there's an option. If you and
no,
if you and I are having a problem sexually, we can go to a sex therapist. Should a sex therapist teach people how to masturbate?
mm,
And
it,
think about it like this, because we're Christians. So think about somebody like Dr. Jessica.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Dr. Jessica is a Christian sex therapist. So when you go to her for sex therapy, you're not going to get all this foolishness that you see on YouTube.
I don't
You
know
you're
her.
going to get some biblical stuff. Can she teach? I haven't talked to her in a while.
I don't know her thoughts on it,
I
so
would
I
love
don't
to get her
know.
thoughts on that. Can we teach people how to do that?
Mm, this is just a slippery slope.
Your partner
Your
is not a
partner is
sex
not a
toy.
sex toy. Absolutely,
Lenore,
absolutely.
expand on that though for a second.
So
Expand on that.
it
For
goes
some
back to
men,
her
nipples
first
are.
point.
Yeah, I agree with that. Well, and here's the thing with the nipple thing. I was just using that as an example.
Mm-hmm.
That just so happens to be a sensitive area for a lot of people. However, for some people, it is sexual stimulation.
Yeah, it is. It is. I agree.
That's all I was saying.
But what Lenore said, your partner is not a sex toy. It goes
Mhm.
back to her first point. And it goes back to what I said about her first point. You expect your partner to be able to get you there in 3 minutes, but your partner is not a sex toy. So what if your partner can't get you there in 3 minutes?
Yeah.
Which can happen because it's not going to feel the same.
But are you gonna be disappointed if you and your partner go longer than you by yourself?
You might be. You might be. No, it shouldn't. It should be a natural sex exploration for people. No teaching necessary. That's kind of what I'm thinking.
I'm on the fence about that.
Yeah.
I'm on the
I
fence about that because we teach people how to do everything else. So when we sit with a couple and they're like we're having problems in the bedroom, we're essentially teaching them what to do. I mean, now we're not telling them do this position and this position. That's not what I'm talking about when I say teaching per se.
Mhm.
What I'm talking about is, for example, with the argument around teaching masturbation, and I'm just being devil's advocate to the 3-minute thing,
Mhm.
right? So if I'm talking to somebody about body exploration and I'm telling them, hey, I'm walking them through whatever I feel like the thought process should be,
Mhm.
and telling them that this is not just a, and I know people are going to jump back at me when I say this. This is not just a means for you to just get off.
Mhm.
This is about learning your body. So take your time, and or whatever the technique is that you teach them, right? Combats the 3 minutes, because now you're not just
Mhm.
trying to
Oh,
just
okay.
get to your next meeting,
Wow.
right? Because for some people that's what it is about, and I think that diminishes the exploration idea.
It,
That's a whole nother side
yeah,
of masturbation where you just like, oh, I'm just trying to knock one out just for the sake of it.
but why? Don't you think that if that's the case, the whole knock one out for the sake of it, that there's an underlying reason, like emotionally maybe, of why you feel the need to even do that in the first place?
If you're married, yes, but I'm talking about the person who is not married,
Mm,
because we don't have conversation. What are we telling these
that's
folks?
true.
What are we telling the single people who are laying in their bed right now wishing that a man or woman was with them?
Yeah.
Like, what are we saying to them?
This is this is a tricky one. This is a tricky one. I'm not sure.
So listen, this is why these conversations. Listen, and here again, we are not here to leave you tonight with a here's what you should do. Our whole point is that we're not having the conversation, and we should be having the conversation. And who do we need to bring in to have this conversation? And what are the parameters of the conversation? And what are we leaving folk with? Married
Mhm.
folk and single folk.
Mhm.
Because here's the thing, I can guarantee you, I don't have any studies in front of me, I don't have any stats in front of me. I can guarantee you that a large percentage of the married folk who masturbate are masturbating using a lustful point of reference that is not their spouse.
Hmm.
And that's me saying that I believe that it's okay.
Hmm. Yeah.
No, no, no. Hold on. Let me clear this up, because that's a terrible soundbite. I'm not saying it's okay for your point of reference to be not your spouse. I'm saying I believe it's okay to masturbate, but even with me saying it's okay, I know and am aware that folk are not using their spouse as a point of reference.
Mhm.
So let's keep it a buck. It's after night. It's after dark. I have I have a I have an app on my phone that can only be that I can only get into. It does not use my fingerprint. It does not use any other identifiers. I actually have to get myself into the app. And that app is used specifically for me to hold certain pictures and videos.
Okay. Mm.
So if I use that as my point of reference,
Certain.
yes, certain. I
You
was
might
trying
want to clear that up. Pictures and videos
of my
with
wife. Again, a terrible soundbite
right.
of my wife. Pictures and videos of my wife. Nobody else. If I use that as my point of reference, it cannot be wrong. That's just
Mhm.
me. I'm just thinking that cannot be wrong. What's the Lord saying? So the basis of marriage is service.
As Christians, we are called to serve each other 100%. Masturbation serves self.
Okay.
And I believe that there is a difference between healthy sexual exploration, boundaries, rules of engagement, and masturbation. I agree with that. Yep. I think Lenore just put into words what I'm thinking. Yep. I agree with that. Yep. 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 Pics and thank you. Look, he had
I
to clear.
cleared.
He had to clear that up.
I cleared
You
it up,
know,
DT.
I had to make sure that people understood. You
Yeah,
know, it wasn't just frivolous. Okay, can we get off
I
this
I clear
topic
I
of the
cleared it. I
pics
cleared
and
it up,
videos?
DT. I cleared it up because people be taking my stuff out of context, man.
Oh
I posted
goodness.
a 1 minute clip on TikTok, and that bad boy has 40,000 views, and the comments are crazy
So yeah, we
because they didn't see the whole video.
um that's a good point, Lenore. Very good point.
That's a good point.
I
Uh,
agree with that 100%.
So based on what Lenore said,
Hmm.
let's not talk about married folk for a second. Let's talk about single folk.
Hmm.
Based on what Lenore said, we should be telling single folk that it is not right.
Yeah, it's very dangerous.
Why are we telling them it's not right?
Mm. Because, like we said before, what is their point of reference? So that they don't have a point of reference like married people do. If they chose to do that, then the assumption or hope would be that they're thinking about their spouse when they do that. Who is the single person thinking about when they do that? You
Yeah.
said that yourself.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. But here's the thing, that doesn't mean that it's not right or that it's wrong.
It
It
is.
means that you got to work on your point of, because here's the thing. Here's the thing. Whether you choose to masturbate or not, I don't think is the issue. Whether you choose to lust or not is the issue. Because you could as a single person, I could lust after you, and I don't masturbate at all. Does that mean I'm in the
Yeah.
clear?
But the thing is, I think that probably lust, I'm trying to find what I read. This is an article that I read, and it said, while the Bible may not directly address masturbation, the action that most leads to it and perpetuates it, lustful thoughts, are sinful. So if you're a single person, you're a 17-year-old or you're whoever, just a single person,
Mhm.
is masturbating, what thoughts did they have to get there?
I agree with you. I still don't believe that that makes it wrong because can you
But if they're having lustful thoughts, how can it
no, no,
not
no,
be
no.
wrong?
If they're having lustful thoughts, yes, but I don't know.
So you're saying that they're just exploring.
I believe that that's a possibility. Now, here's the thing. I'm not saying that that happens because again, I'm telling you, even though this is my position, that I know that a large percentage of the folk that are masturbating are probably using a lustful point of reference. I get that. My question is, does that make it wrong? Is there a right? I'm saying this very facetiously, but I do mean it. Is there a right way to masturbate?
Hmm.
And here's the thing. It's not even so much that I need to be solid on this. It's the fact that we aren't having these conversations. And so our kids have no clue what they should or should not do and why not they should do it.
Right.
That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. I understand.
That's all I'm saying. And there's people watching. We got people. This is a touchy subject, man. Folk afraid to touch this one in the comments, man.
Yeah, right. They're watching, but they're not saying much.
People afraid to touch this one in the comments. And listen, I'm telling you, these Saturday night conversations are gonna be, and they're not gonna all be about sex, but they're all gonna be conversations that are tough conversations and conversations that we don't
That
always
we're not
have.
having. Yeah. Yep.
We don't have.
How can you tell who's watch or how many people are watching?
Well, it
Right.
went down now. I think it was 10 at the time. It's 7 right now. So it's in
Okay.
the corner. 8.
Oh,
It's
I
in the
see it.
corner.
I see it.
So that's really the whole point of this. We don't have a stance that we want you to take.
Right.
We do want you to have this. For those of you who have kids, we want you to have this conversation. Well, not Lenore, because Lenore's kids are too small for this right now.
No, please
Um,
don't.
but like Bianca's daughter,
Mm-hmm.
you know, that's a conversation you got to have.
Yeah.
And here's the thing: I'm not telling you whether you should say,
Whether it's right or wrong,
right, here
that
is what we about to say.
that is your choice as the parent as to whatever you decide to share or not share with your spouse or with your child, but the conversation should be had.
The conversation should be had. And I'm going to say this: I'm not here to tell you whether you should say that it's right or wrong, but I guarantee you, no matter what side you fall on, you better have an explanation.
Absolutely. Yeah.
That's all
Please
I'm
don't
saying.
just say it's right or it's
Don't
wrong.
say it's wrong. And then when they ask you why, you like, because I said so. No,
Hmm.
because here's what's going to happen when you say that. When you say because I said so, they're going to go find out
That's what I'm
from
saying.
somebody else.
Right.
And that somebody else, I guarantee you, is going to give them a jacked up point of reference.
Mm, yeah.
So if you're going to have the conversation, do some research, get your points in order, understand the nuances of it, and do and say what you need to say.
Yeah.
DT, you can validate whatever action or belief you hold to. Is it right or wrong? Is it a right or wrong thing? Yeah, you can validate it. You can.
Yeah, that's true.
You can validate it. I mean, I do believe there's some things that are clearly wrong,
Hmm.
and I do think that there's some things that are clearly right.
Yeah.
This I don't believe is one of them.
It's a tricky one for sure.
Yeah, this I don't believe is one of them. Um, and at the end of the day, again, I said we're not going to give advice, but that is a piece of advice that I will give. If you're going to have this with the conversation with a single person, if you're going to have this with the singles, have this conversation with the singles ministry in your church. Listen, if you're going to have this conversation with the married folk in your church,
Hmm.
understand what, be solid on where you stand, and and have some stuff to say about it,
Yeah.
because you're not going to be able to tell me that it's wrong, because I'm going to tell you everything I said tonight. Because you can't tell me that exploring my own body is wrong. Well, I mean, you could tell me that, but I don't agree with you, right? So that's
Before you put that comment up,
mhm.
so it, if you because you don't think that there's anything wrong with it, and I'm not sure if I do or don't, honestly. Um, but because you don't think that it's wrong, how do you explain to the single person that it's okay to explore your body in that way, but not like where do you draw the line? How would you tell them this is where you got to draw the line? Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because once you begin to explore your body, right?
Mhm.
Like you said, and you discover what stimulation makes you feel good.
Mhm.
How are you going to just be like, and then when you discover that, cut it off? Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I know what you're saying, but I mean, should you have to cut it off? Like, what are you saying? So you saying that you can't explore to the point of orgasm?
Well, I mean, I guess you could without it being lustful, right?
I'm telling you, you can.
Mm,
So I'm just playing devil's advocate, because if you stand up in front of a group of people and tell them that masturbation is not wrong because your point of reference is lustful, I'm going to be the person that comes back to you and is like, so what about when I'm on a business trip? If I'm Because I'm married, right? If I'm the married guy, I'm going to come back with you. Okay, so what if I'm on a business trip and I've been away from my wife for 3 weeks on this business trip, and I got this app that I just talked about earlier? You gonna tell me that that's not right?
mm,
What's gonna be the answer to the person who stands up and asks that question? Or if I'm the single guy who is like, hey, I ain't thinking about none of these chicks in here.
mhm,
I
mhm,
found out the other day when I was in the shower that when I rub the back of my neck a certain way, man, it sends shivers through our body, and I
mhm,
like how that feels. What you
mhm.
gonna say to that dude?
Yeah.
Like, I ain't thinking about none of these chicks in here.
Mhm. Oof, such a tricky one.
All right, what's Lenore saying?
She's talking about how what she says to her children. about just sex, period. I don't
Mhm.
believe she's talking about masturbation. We're telling them that the Creator, in His infinite wisdom, understood that sex was the best for couples in covenant relationship with Him. It's wonderful, highly recommend. However, outside of those parameters, we expose ourselves to the risks that have the potential to ruin your life. Explain the risks. Share your experience if you have any. Talk about the spiritual aspect of sex, which is often overlooked. Very, very good.
Very good. I
Very,
agree.
very good.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
I agree with that. Here's a question that I don't necessarily want you guys to comment on. You can if you want, but this is more of a rhetorical question. Let's say that we are going to we are going to tell folks, married and single, that masturbation is not right. Let's say
Mm-hmm.
that that's where we fall.
Mm-hmm.
What do we tell the single person to do when they get horny?
This
What are
is
they
why
supposed to do?
this is why I wish that Pastor Kim was on here. Mm.
And that's something to think about. What do
Yeah.
we tell them? Because here's what I don't like that people do. And hear me, folks. Do not view me as a heretic when I say this. This is not it's not what I mean. But I do not like when folk simply tell you to pray about something and they don't give you anything to go on.
Yeah.
Now, here's the other side of that. Prayer 1000% works.
Mm-hmm.
But everybody does not have that degree of spiritual connection and relationship that you may have.
Mm.
So they may need some practical advice to go along with pray
Pray
about it.
about it.
So I'm a young man and just the wind is blowing and I don't know what to do with myself. Yes, I should ask God for self-control, for whatever you say I should ask God for.
Mm-hmm.
What else? And I'm not saying answer this, just thinking about it. What else are we telling them?
Mm-hmm.
Again, with the married person, what are we telling them?
Mm-hmm.
And why is it okay for us to go to the store and get toys and other things to have fun with each
Mm-hmm.
other in the
Mm-hmm.
bedroom, but you can't take them on your business trip when you're going
Yeah.
away for 3 weeks? All of a sudden, that's not right.
Mm-hmm.
And you're thinking about me. Or you might even be on the phone with me.
Right. It's a tricky one.
It is. And that's why we need to have these conversations.
Tricky one.
That is why, ladies and gentlemen, we need to have these conversations. So I hate to just drop all of this on you and say goodnight.
But good night.
But that's essentially that's essentially what's about to happen.
Yeah, this was a good conversation.
Yeah. So I'm just encouraging you, which is again, I'm gonna book in with what I started with. The goal of these Saturday night conversations is not to leave you with the goal of these Saturday night
Oops.
conversations is not to leave you with an answer.
Hi, Donnie.
Donnie, what's good, bro?
Hi, Donnie. Oh, you know what? I had
What?
a dream about Donnie and Kwani last night. It was a very good dream.
Okay. Donnie, hit us up, man. She had a dream about you. I think it had something to do with us coming down and you cooking a whole lot of food or something like that.
It didn't, but that is a dream of mine.
Yeah, so here's the goal of these Saturday night and Elizan said the couple decides for them what is appropriate.
Yeah,
Um
agreed.
the
Good
goal of the,
night, Lenore.
good night, Lenore. Again, happy anniversary to
Happy
you and Mike
anniversary.
Jones. Um so yeah, the goal is for you guys to have these conversations.
Mm-hmm.
Because again, I'm gonna say it, I have never ever been in a conversation about this.
I haven't either. It's a good one.
Nowhere. No church, no marriage seminar, no nothing. I've never heard anybody talk about this.
Yeah, me either.
So we out here winging it. But we can't pass judgment if we ain't given no instruction.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, we can't pass judgment anyway.
Period.
But we definitely can't pass judgment if we ain't given no instruction.
Right.
If it's every man for himself and we out here winging it. So
Yeah.
listen, folks, listen. For those of you who are watching this in the replay, definitely share your comments. Share your comments. We would love to hear your point of view on this. And as always, this is what we're here for, man. I believe that it's important that we do this. This woman and I will probably continue this conversation at some point, and maybe you know
You're saying a lot of ums. What is going on over here?
the off camera you can do kind of visual aids and things of that nature to kind of enhance and
Help me.
prove your argument or disprove your argument. You know what I'm saying? Show me what you talk about. Kinds of conversations. So maybe
Oh, help me, people.
maybe y'all need to have some of those too.
Tell me, y'all don't pray for me enough. Y'all do not pray for me enough.
Listen, man. All jokes aside, we gotta do better.
Yeah, we have to do better with these conversations. They're hard.
They're
like
hard.
my sister said,
they're hard conversations,
and a lot of them are taboo. But we have people behind us that are coming up behind us, and we got to set the example. We have to set the example by having these conversations with ourselves, and also teaching them to have these conversations as well.
Yeah.
And having these conversations with them.
Yeah.
As well. What did Donnie say?
Yeah.
I'll count
DT.
y'all out because all they need. Oh.
I'm just keeping it real, DT. That's
man.
That's what we got to do, bro. I mean, we got to, because here's the thing. All jokes aside, seriously, I sit with couples, and listen. This may not be an issue in you all's homes, or it may not be a conversation that you feel like you. I sit with couples who are on the brink of tearing down their relationship over conversations they never had.
Wow. Yeah.
I'm telling you.
Yeah. That's tough.
She can attest to it because sometimes she's in the session, sometimes she's not in the session, but can hear me.
Yeah.
I am wrestling with folks over conversations they have never had.
Yeah.
So we got to have them. We got to have them. Donnie said, first time people discover or learn about their sexual pleasure. First time people discover or learn about sexual pleasure.
First time people discover or learn about sexual pleasure.
Is when, Donnie? First time is when. Sometimes the first time that they even have the opportunity to explore is in marriage. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing.
I think that's a beautiful thing.
I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm just saying that I believe that it is our job. Masturbation, Donnie was talking about.
Oh, yes.
And you're right.
Yeah.
You're right. You're right about that. I believe, I'm not saying that's a bad thing. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying you got to go in with some level of experience. That's not what I'm saying. What I am saying is that there needs to be a conversation that leads up to you going in.
Okay, what's the conversation?
I don't know. You tell me. When you're doing premarital counseling, we're about to jump heavy into the premarital coaching space. One of the parts of the assessment. So everybody who comes to us has to first take an assessment. One of the parts of the assessment talks about expectations around sex. How often you think you want to have sex? How do you view love? What is being wanted feel? All of that. Those conversations need to take place.
Yes.
Ahead of time.
Yes, agreed. However, those conversations also need to be ongoing. Because if you're going into it, you could say one thing, but then once you're into it and it starts, you're like, okay, wait a minute. That's way too many times, or that's not enough times. You know what I'm saying? So you just have to continue the conversation.
So listen, folks, that's it. We getting out of here. That's another. That's it for this week's Have a Conversation After Dark. We encourage you to have a conversation. Doesn't matter about what. Doesn't have to be. Don't start with the taboo stuff.
Right.
Because the taboo stuff is tough. You can see how tough this conversation was in the 50 minutes that we've been on here.
Yeah.
Start with the stuff that's not tough.
Mm-hmm.
Start being able to express your thoughts and feelings about how you feel about your spouse,
Right.
or how great dinner was, or complimenting them on something. Start expression in an area where you can thrive, and you can practice doing this and get good at it, and then tackle some of the tough stuff.
Yes, and that's the key. It's not necessarily when you start with the easier conversations, it's not because these conversations are easy per se, but it's just so that you get into the routine
Yep, get
and
in a rhythm.
practice and
Yep.
rhythm of having these conversations. And the more you do it, the easier it will become, so that when you do need to have a more difficult conversation, you at least have the backing of the practice and the rhythm that you've been doing it all of this time.
Yep.
You have that behind you to push you forward and help you with the difficult conversations.
That's right.
You can't start with a difficult conversation. That's really, really hard to do.
Cannot start with a difficult conversation. So listen, on that note, we out of here. Have a fantastic rest of your evening and a great weekend. Listen, for those of you who, let me say this, I would be remiss if I didn't say this before we get out of here. Tomorrow, we will be back with another episode of Inside the Relationship at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Make sure you join us tomorrow for Inside the Relationship. All right, folks, we out of here. Have a great evening and have a conversation.
Have a conversation.
We'll see you in the next video.
Bye, guys.